Today, on A Word on Westerns, Claude Jarman Jr. and Patrick Wayne.
Follow me! Here is Adventure, starring John Wayne and Maureen O'Hara. It will surely take its place among John Ford's greatest triumphs.
Welcome to A Word on Westerns, where we talk to the greatest Western creators of yesterday, today, and tomorrow.
Hi, I'm Rob Word. Welcome to A Word on Westerns, the podcast.
And I'm R.J. Word, and we're talking deep and quietly right now.
Let's talk about a road trip that we made from Los Angeles to Lone Pine, California. Remember that? We had a passenger with us in the car.
Well, we've made that trip a fair number of times, but if you're talking about the first time...
The first time you went...
Yeah, to the Lone Pine Film Festival.
You'd been there a couple of times before, but for the film festival...
Yeah, we had none other than the distinguished Patrick Wayne in the car with us for that ride.
So you'd met him a couple of times before, but what did you think of Patrick?
He's a fun guy. He's very easy to talk to. He has a lot of fantastic and engaging stories with, talking about people that are just so wildly iconic and legendary. And he refers to them all so casually because that was just his life.
It was, and of course his legendary dad is the biggest movie star of the world still. It's amazing. And the film that we're going to have Patrick talk about today is the film that he made his movie debut in. It's 1950, Rio Grande. He was 6 years old. He really didn't have a big part in this at all, but our other guest, Claude Jarman Jr., did have a big part in that.
Claude Jarman Jr. was really first discovered to be in The Yearling.
When he was in school.
Yeah, when he was in school, and won a Special Academy Award for it.
He did, and we're taping this right now in 2025, and earlier this year, Claude died, and it's wonderful that we were able to get him together with Patrick. They hadn't gotten together to discuss Rio Grande, which was done 70 years ago, together, and we were able to get them both on stage at the Lone Pine Film Festival. How lucky we were to do this. The audience was thrilled, the room was packed, and their stories are fantastic. And so is the movie, one of the Cavalry Trilogy, Rio Grande, Fort Apache, and She Wore a Yellow Ribbon. For me, Rio Grande, that we're going to talk about with Patrick and Claude, is the most romantic and my favorite of the three. I love all three of them, but Rio Grande had some wonderful moments in it. The first time that John Wayne and Maureen O'Hara got together.
If you're not familiar with the Cavalry Trilogy, it was 3 films directed by John Ford, starring John Wayne, centered around the cavalry out west.
And 2 of them were filmed in Monument Valley. Rio Grande was filmed in Kanab, and it's got that famous sequence with the Roman riding. And if you don't know about Roman riding, you're going to learn about it during this interview with Patrick and Claude. It's, again, I feel so blessed that we were able to get the 2 of them together, and Claude and I got together several other times, and he was the most charming man. He loved movies. He was so happy with what he had done. We have another older interview that we did with him on a Zoom. And RJ, what do you think? We might want to go back into our archives and edit that together and put it together for a podcast.
Yeah, well, especially because at that time, Zoom sounded a lot better than it looked. So it's a perfect contender for this series.
Well, right now, get close to your earbuds.
Yeah, plug us in.
And here comes Patrick Wayne and Claude Jarman Jr. Enjoy.
are in for a thrill tonight, a treat, because we've just finished watching Rio Grande. Did you have a good time? Did you like that? We have Mr. Patrick Wayne. He was in the movie. He was that cute little kid. And then as Trooper York, the great Claude Jarman Jr. So, gentlemen, that was only, what, 72 years ago?
I know. It was crazy.
Like yesterday.
And, you know, we lost contact. And then in 1990, I joined this club, men's club in San Francisco, and at a summer encampment, he was a member already, and we're reintroduced and we're close friends for another 30 years. So, yeah! That's what I'm talking.
Let's talk about John Ford, because you had won an Academy Award for The Yearling.
Correct.
And you'd gone back to school, and you got a call from John Ford to come in and talk to him?
I got a call. I was in Nashville, where I was in school, and I got a call asking if I could come out for an interview. You know, working for John Ford. Of course I'm going to do that, because I was very excited about coming out. So I came out, and I went out to Republic, and I went in, and there was Ford and Marion Cooper, the producer. And, you know, Ford, as Pat would know, he's sitting there chewing his handkerchief and had his kerchief and doing all that stuff. And he said, how are your marks? I said, you mean in school? I said, yeah, I'm doing okay. He said, do you like to play sports? I said, yeah. I said, what do you do? I said, well, you know, the usual, high school, I play all the sports. And he said, okay, we'll see you. So I flew all the way to California, and I had a 10-minute interview. And
did you know that you had the part at that time?
no, my agent went in after I did, and he came out and he said, you got the part. So that was it. Be back in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and you're in.
Wow.
So that was my introduction to John Ford.
Now, Patrick, you had, you know, because of your dad, known probably John Ford before you knew he was John Ford.
He was my godfather.
Well, and his casting for you, was this in Rio Grande? Was that your first speaking part in a movie?
100%. I mean, I was barely able to talk. But, you know, my dad, my dad said, look, how old are you? And I said, I'm 9 years old, sir. I'll be 10 in a month, sir. He says, boy, you have been, you know, living off the dole here. You got to get to work. You know? Get out there, start working. I said, well, what do I get? He says, $10 a day. I said, okay, I'm going to do it. Hadn't stopped for the whole 20th century. But it was interesting. It developed for me because I had 3 siblings at the time, older brother and sister and a younger sister. They had no interest in working on films or anything. So when I would go to work with my dad, they weren't there. I had them all to myself. It made it really special. That was the beginning of it.
Was that the first film you remember going on location?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, first one. Did several after that, but yeah.
In the encampment, I know Moab is a lot different shooting there than in Monument Valley, where you went and they did the searchers. Everybody is set up in tents out in the sand. But in Moab, because it's closer to the town, weren't you guys staying in houses in the hotels, motels there in town?
In the motels, yeah. I mean, I don't really remember that. Do you remember?
Yeah, we were in a motel.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And there was a commissary where they set it up, and that's where we had our meals. And
was there much separation between the crew and the cast?
No.
None.
Not at all.
Mm-hmm.
No, it was a very cohesive group.
Mm-hmm. That seemed like it was a more relaxed shoot for John Ford than the others. He was doing it kind of like a throwaway film because he was doing it to get the money and approval to do The Quiet Man, but yet it turned out to be, I think, one of the most heartwarming John Ford films. The compositions, and I love the black and white. It just was magnificent, and it takes you to a different time, but every frame, and the camera's not moving, where the great faces that Ford had. Now, he was
meticulously designed all of that. He had an eye for that, yeah.
From working in silence. Now, he was mad at people. He would pick on people, and you were the new kid. Did he ever pick on you, Claude?
I was very fortunate. The word says in think Pat knows more than I do, but they said he would always have a favorite. They'd also have someone who was not a favorite.
That's right.
And he would pick on somebody. And he picked on Ben Johnson for some reason. Ben could do nothing right. Just shut up, Ben, and get on a horse. Forget the lines. He was just mean to him.
Pretty tough, yeah.
And for me, because I'd done the Roman riding, I could do no wrong.
That Roman riding sequence was so fabulous. I heard that even in those early days of this club that you were together.
I know what you're going to say. I'll tell them. A lot of people who've seen the movie, they automatically always want to say, Roman riding, did you really do that? I said, yes, I did it. John Ford called me in 3 weeks before production and said he wanted me to try to learn to do that and to go out to whatever that farm was and learn with Dobie and Ben Johnson, which I did. But when McLaglen says, would you like to ride? And I say, yes. Then he saw me do this croup mount, get on the horse, and there's no cut. So Ford wanted to be sure that I got credit for doing that.
Well,
so
you
he
deserve it.
So we're going through this whole routine. I'm talking to these guys one night. We're sitting around drinking a little white wine or whatever. And they said, come on, you didn't do that. I said, look, I did it. I said, of course I did it. And they said, well, how do we know that? Pat was there. Ask Pat.
I'm his bona fides.
And I said, so I said, Pat, did he do that? Pat says, no.
You know it.
When you first showed up and you saw Ben and Dobie doing that, and what were you, 15 years old?
Yeah.
And you jumped right up on those horses? What was their reaction to that?
Ben was a little angry, I think. They were a little surprised. Yeah.
And what made it so easy for you to be able to do that?
Well, I don't know. I had made about 4 Westerns. Mm-hmm. So I'd been riding horses a lot.
You had ridden with Joel McCrea.
Ridden with Joel McCrea time, and I loved riding horses. Even in True to the Dust, I was riding a horse. So anyway, it was not that hard, frankly. And when you're 15...
Riding horses is not Roman riding. It was damn hard. He's being humble. He was great. He was amazing.
Now, Patrick, did Ford ever pick on you?
You know, I worked in Ford films in addition to my dad's film. I worked in Mr. Roberts and The Long Gray Line, The Sun Shines Bright, and Cheyenne Autumn, films for Ford that my dad wasn't in. And he never, ever picked on me. But you still go to work waiting for the other shoe to fall. You think it's going to happen. So you still have the same anxiety of, is it going to be my day-to-day? So he might as well have. Yeah, I would have just as soon he did it, got it over with, and we went on. Never happened. Never happened.
Here is a woman's torture, fighting for her boy, a soldier, before he is a man.
The scenes with you and Maureen O'Hara, now that was her first film with Duke and John Ford. What was she like?
Oh, she was wonderful. Mm-hmm. We were just saying to Pat, she was actually gorgeous in this film. Mm-hmm. She was really beautiful and was a nice person, lovely person. Mm-hmm. So it was a great experience, frankly.
And hanging out with Ben Johnson and Dobie, what was that like?
That was just wonderful. I mean, I love both of them. And Dobie, I stayed friends with him until he passed away. We used to go down and visit him all the time. And one of the things that came through tonight, when they had the Sons of the Pioneers who were singing,
Yellow stripes on bridges blue, riding lonely for us, just so we can ride behind and gaily sing this chorus.
Who was just beautiful. And Ken Curtis was the lead singer. And I don't know whether all you people know or not, but do you remember Festus in Gunsmoke? That was Ken Curtis.
Well, this crowd would know that, right?
He had that, I don't know what you would call that accent that he had, but he did it first in The Searchers.
Oh, did he?
Character in The Searchers,
okay.
Yeah. He was like in competition with Jeff Hunter for the Vera Miles character. And then he brought it to fruition.
And he didn't want to do that accent in The Searchers either. He was married to John Ford's daughter, who was an editor. But I heard that, like, Ford said it was okay because Ken would come over and sing all the time. Yeah. Was there a lot of singing and music during the shoot?
There was a lot of people sitting around. The Sons of the Pioneers loved to sing. Stan Jones, who wrote the music, was there. There was just a lot of music going on. And one of the things that I remember about Ken Curtis was before he joined the Sons of the Pioneers, he sang with Tommy Dorsey's band. So he was a real bona fide, legitimate singer. And he always said that Tommy Dorsey, he's convinced, hired him because he wanted him to beat up Frank Sinatra.
Oh, my God.
And he said Sinatra must have sensed that because he was so nice to him.
Oh, that's funny. Because he tried with Merv Griffin, too, who also sang with Tommy Dorsey, but that wasn't gonna happen.
Anyway, but it's just an unusual group of people. I mean, it really was. You know, you could sit around and listen to Victor McLaglen forever. I mean, he had stories. Oh, when I was police chief of Baghdad, and when I mean, you couldn't believe any of this.
Who knows that he was a prize fighter? You could see his ear.
Heavyweight champion of Canada. So,
and you believed all that?
Of course, you could.
Well, you know, speaking of Victor and the stock company that Ford had with him, you saw him surrounded by the same people. You saw the good Chuck and the bad Chuck. In that the stunt guys, the greatest stunt people around. The stunt work because you were doing a lot of that riding with the cavalry and everything too. Was that dangerous at all? Did you see any of the gags come apart or anybody get hurt?
To my knowledge, nobody got hurt, which is amazing because there were a lot of really rough things that were going on.
There were things that they don't even do anymore. That were,
they don't. That's right.
Yeah.
Because you were so young at the time. Did you bunk in the same area that your dad did?
Well, actually, I remember on McClintock, we actually shared a room. What happened was we were shooting in Old Tucson where we had pretty good accommodations. And then we shot the mudslide fight. That was near Tombstone. And we stayed in Tombstone and there was very few accommodations. And my dad and I shared a room, and it made Motel 6 look like the Ritz-Carlton. Linoleum floors, and it was like 100 degrees in Old Tucson. When we get to Tombstone and we're in the mud in the water, it was like 30 degrees. And it would get cold at night. And my dad and I would go to bed, invariably go to bed, fall asleep with the TV on. And it's the crack of dawn. I mean, it's midnight or 2 in the morning. I woke up and this TV screen was static, going bright light, and I looked down at the floor. I did not want to get out of bed and walk on this floor. And so I'm thinking there for a minute. I see my dad start to move around. So I closed my eyes really tight, but I was kind of squinting and watching him over there. And my dad woke up and he looked at the TV. And then he looked over at me and he was like trying to will me to wake up. I'm biting my lip to keep from laughing. And then all of a sudden, finally he throws the covers back and he gets about halfway across this floor, this ice cold floor. Of course, I had to break out of the laughter. It's the only time I ever got a good one on my dad.
Oh, man. No, somebody had sent me a question about in McClintock where he throws you against the horse.
Oh, he loved doing that, yeah.
Now, I think you mentioned about having a montage of all the times he shoots you, he hits you, he beats you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I can't think of a film he didn't clobber me in one way or another. Yeah, it worked out that way. Yeah. Fun stuff, yeah.
Well, what is it about Westerns that, especially the John Ford films and your dad's films, all of them seem to be classics, that there's a resurgence right now in Westerns? What is the reason behind that, do you think?
I mean, we all have our own opinions. I happen to think that it represents something that is refreshing about America, is about our heritage, certain values, the core values that, self-reliance, being trustworthy, being honest. Every once in a while, you gotta look back at this stuff, and you can always find it in the Western genre, I think.
Let me ask you, Claude, about your Academy Award-winning film, The Yearling, because you had no background as an actor, and you just got plucked out of school by Clarence Brown. How did that come about?
They'd started to make The Yearling in 1939, and the war came on. Spencer Tracy had the role. He hated it. He didn't like the movie at all. They shut it down. Victor Fleming was the director. And so they shut it down. And then in 1945, as the war was winding down, they decided to make it again. And Clarence Brown was one of their top directors. He had just done National Velvet with Elizabeth Taylor. He had done Human Comedy with Butch Jenkins. So he had a way with children. And he decided that he wanted to make the movie, and he wanted to find the boy himself. He didn't like the way they were sending out talent scouts. And he would go into a school, into a city like Nashville. He'd go to the Board of Education. He would say, identify himself. He'd say, I would like to go and visit the 5th grade of the various schools around your city. And if I see anyone I like, I'd like to be able to talk to them. If I don't, I'll leave. Nobody will know I've been there. And he came to my school on a Valentine's Day on a Friday afternoon at 10 minutes to 3, 10 minutes before it ended. I was standing at the board doing some things.
How old were you?
I was 10 years old. And they called me into the office. He talked to me. He said, I want to come by later and talk to you. What's this all about? And anyway, over the next couple of days, we talked, and I wanted me to come to California, take a test. And my father went with me. And after 2 months, nothing was happening. I was in the studio school there. And I thought, well, what's going to happen? And then I started making tests, but I was making tests with people that they were testing to be the mother. They'd already had Gregory Peck, but they wanted to do the mother. So that was my test. So I never really tested for it. Clarence Brown said, you're the guy. I make the decision, and you're it.
Do you remember who some of the actresses were?
I don't know who the Anne Revere was one that had been in it earlier. And they ended up hiring a girl named Jacqueline White, who was only 20 years old. And after 3 months of shooting, they replaced her. So everything that we had shot, we had to reshoot, and they replaced her with Jane Wyman.
And all that stuff was shot on the studio lot, right?
No, we were in Florida.
All in Florida?
Yeah.
Wow.
But it was a 2-year project. I started in 45, and it came out early 47.
You were shaving by the time they...
Yeah, just about.
How many inches did you grow in that time?
6 inches.
6 inches.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
But you probably, or they probably had to replace the deer periodically because...
Well, we had one deer, basically enough that we used pretty much throughout the whole film. It was the only deer who would have the ability, when it sits in your lap, would fold up his legs and would sit there like this. Most of them don't. They want to be able to go.
Yeah.
And that deer was just...
That was a wonderful relationship, too. So sad. So sad.
It was sad.
Yeah. Let's talk about Joel McCrea just a little bit, because you did the Outriders with Joel McCrea, and you did a lot of great writing in that. I know it's not regarded as a classic like Hangman's Knot or Rio Grande, but yet to do a Joel McCrea movie, that must have been a thrill.
It was made in Kanab, Utah, and it was Arlene Dahl, Barry Sullivan, and Joel McCrea. And it was a fun set. A lot of horses, and I drowned. That went not a very happy end.
No, not at all.
How can we not talk about The Searchers since you're here? And everybody has seen The Searchers. This is your first time here at the Lone Pine Film Festival. The Searchers has resonated with all of us, I think, here.
When The Searchers came out, it wasn't really a critical or a financial success. But like a generation later, when Coppola and Spielberg and these boys are in film school, they discovered the film, and it became a cult hit and attained probably, the status that it should have had all the time. Just the timing was different for it. It was great for me. I mean, I had Natalie Wood, and we were two young people, and we didn't have anybody our age there, so great.
Well, you lucky boy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she was great. Wonderful girl.
Well, we're glad you were invited to come here for this.
This has been wonderful. I appreciate all the people here.
Give yourselves a hand.
I've had a great opportunity to have my wife with me, and we've both been awed by the people and by the scenery and the mountains. You guys are very lucky to live here.
Then what did you think of the museum, all the artifacts?
Oh, you know everything. Everything is just terrific.
For a town of a couple of thousand people to have a museum like that is really amazing, really.
Well, and this festival has been going on for decades, and it's because of people who come and visit like you and share their film experiences and then appreciate and see the locale, because this town, this area, this is film history right here.
No, it's...
Yeah. And did you know I'm going horseback riding with your wife tomorrow?
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that. Well, everybody, I want to thank you all for coming. Let's give a big hand for our stars.
It's always fun getting to watch the movies that these guests talk about immediately following the interviews. And that is a really cool feature of getting to do these at the Lone Pine Film Festival.
It's a special film festival because even if the star isn't there when we show a film, the movies that were shot in Lone Pine, you go out and you see the rocks and you feel the ghosts of the people who were in those films. And so many classic movies were shot in Lone Pine. Gunga Din, Bad Day at Black Rock, the major Bud Bedecker, Burt Kennedy, Randolph Scott, Renown films were shot right there in those rocks.
Django Unchained.
Iron Man.
Yeah. Oh God, what's the earthquake? Tremors.
Oh, Tremors. Yeah. That's a great movie, and it really takes advantage of the location. So, if you like Lone Pine, you ought to hit the film festival. It's over the Columbus Day weekend every October, and it sells out pretty rapidly, but films are shown, and we have guests just like Claude Jarman and Patrick Wayne. In the early days when we first started the festival, people like Jack Palance were there, and Roy Rogers, and Ernie Borgnine, Doug Fairbanks, because he shot Gunga Din there, Gregory Peck from Yellow Sky. All these guys were there. And it's exciting to sit in the audience, watch the movie, they're there, and then to visit the locations, the Alabama Hills. Pretty exciting. And it was very exciting and sad to lose Claude Jarman. Patrick said this hit him hard. They had known each other for a long time.
Rest in peace, Claude, and thanks again for joining us.
And thank you all for joining us too.
If you enjoy what we do here, please take a moment to follow our show and share these interviews with your friends. You can also find A Word on Westerns on Patreon, Facebook, and YouTube. Thank you, and see you next week on A Word on Westerns. A Word on Westerns is produced and hosted by Rob and RJ Word. Edited by Alex Lockett and Boar and Ebor Dro. Location audio is provided by Richard Reagan. Sound design by Alex Lockett. A Word on Westerns theme song was composed by Karel Pasoda with additional arrangements by Shipwreck Music and RJ Word.